Hello and welcome to College and Beyond Real Talk with Amour. If you have not already guessed, I am your host, Amour Carthy. And the purpose of this podcast is to help viewers and listeners understand what different college experiences are like, as well as different careers are like. Our episode today is with Lynsey. Her episode is entitled Frame Your Future: What Photography Taught Me About Life, Identity, and Showing Up. This episode is sponsored by Education Innovations, where we help guide families through education decisions from college and graduate admissions to life beyond. So let's start this conversation and bring Lynsey on. Hey, Lynsey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast. We can't wait to hear more about your journey and your stories. So,
Yeah.
your episode is entitled, From Your Future: What Photography Taught Me About Identity, yourself and showing up. So, let's start with photography. How did you get into photography? Or no, I know I have a whole bunch of questions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, why don't we start with that? How did you
Yeah.
get into photography?
Yeah. So I got into photography because of my mom. So my mom was also a creative where she was, painting, drawing, sculpting, all of these things, and also photography. I can't for the life of me draw a straight line. So the camera seemed like the easiest thing to pick up. And so I'll be honest, this was not my ultimate career choice. I wanted to be a news anchor. So I wanted to be on television. I wanted to be a reporter. But I think being led to photography was a much better choice because there is still, a bit of freedom when it comes to this particular like art practice. Like I can create what I want to, I can create the narrative, I can do a lot of things with photography that I don't believe that I could have done it with like being on TV. So with
Hmm.
with photography, it has been like one of the things that has opened up my mind about a lot of things and yeah, and I'm just so grateful to be in the profession that I'm in.
So when you say that you learned it from your mom, so did you pick up a camera or did you pick up like her old cameras that she had around or take photography classes when you were in high school or elementary school? How did that actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, it started with just the camera being in the house. So more so of snapshots, of family, definitely a lot of like family gatherings and family reunions and things like that. And in high school, it was more of the same. So snapshots of me just trying to keep memories, especially around my senior year of high school. But I only took one class and that was in college. And so the rest is
Mm.
just through trial and error. Also through I was an assistant to a wedding photographer for a little while. And then the rest of it just came from like networking and talking to folks and practicing in between. So yeah, that's how I started, with a camera in my hand. It started right at home.
Okay, so you said a class at college. What college did you go to?
I went to the University of Montevallo, which is in Montevallo, Alabama. It's a very small state school where we
Hmm.
are mostly known for like people getting their teaching degrees. It's also like an
Oh,
arts and science college, well, university. At one point, it was an all women's school, but now
oh,
it's not. So yeah, but the University of Montevallo was very instrumental in how I articulate things about the world. And I'm glad that I went to this small school. I had the opportunity to either go to Stillman College. Clark Atlanta was
mm,
an option, but I chose the University of Montevallo for a number of reasons. And also I had a bunch of scholarships. So I wanted to come out of college
oh.
debt free.
Hmm.
So I made the choice to go to a state to stay in state in Alabama versus going out of state. But all in all, I mean, it was a wonderful experience. I still have, a lot of friends, a lot of connections and keep in touch with some of the professors there. So yeah, it had a tremendous like effect on my life.
Okay, and then you said you became assistant. So right out of college, did you start becoming an assistant for the wedding photographer, or how did that work? Were you like, "Oh, I need to get a job," or, how did that go?
Yeah, so I actually got a job right out of college. I got a
Mhm.
job at like a department store, but I also got my during that time I was in school to get my master's in communication management. So I got my master's from the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Mhm.
And I was there for 2 years, but in that time, when I tell people how much I was doing in the span of 2 years while I was getting my master's, they think I'm crazy because I had a job, I was
Mhm.
taking classes, I was building my
Mhm.
photography career, and I also
Ooh.
worked at a, television station at the time. So I was doing 4 different things in the span of 2 to 3 years. And then at
Mm,
one point I added I yeah, at one point when I was laid off from that television, station, I started
mhm,
teaching public speaking at a few colleges and universities in Alabama. So I
mhm.
had my hand in things that I feel like has been instrumental in how I like connect with people during like photo shoots and networking. So I feel like everything that I'm doing is still interconnected.
Yes, yes. No, I'm glad that
Mhm,
you shared that with, the listeners because the communications, I remember first meeting you, I was running a STEM program over at
mhm,
Morehouse,
mhm.
and it was a hackathon, you were a
Yep.
photographer, and I liked your style, and you were really nice and the way that you communicated, so I always remembered you. So,
I love
all
it.
of those things
Love it.
yeah, yeah. And I saw your work, and I just was like I mean, it's not only your work that's, stands out, but your personality. I was just like, "She's so nice, and she's just so cordial." I wanna work with her, and I'm gonna refer her to everybody. So, yeah.
Well, I am truly appreciative of that. I really am. It's one of the things that I try to tell other people. Of course, work comes from knowing what you do, but it also comes in how you treat people because no one wants, to be on set or be in an environment where they can't trust the person who's documenting that time. So I I do think, an attitude of gratitude is very useful, like for sure. Yeah.
So, with the wedding things, were you like, "Ooh, I don't wanna do that anymore," or were you just like, "Ooh" you know? Tell us what being assistant to, wedding photographer is like, and how
Mhm.
you may have changed the type of photography that you were doing. What does that entail doing weddings?
Yeah, so when I was assisting, it was definitely more so where, of course, since I wasn't the lead, it was more so me just kind of catching things that were in between. Now the situation became different when I was the main photographer for weddings. And what I
Mhm.
realized is that, without going too deep into the rabbit hole as to why, but what I found out is that of course a lot of that moment is very transactional. And sometimes even I can understand like there's a level of stress that comes with planning such a large event, but also the stress should not trickle down to the people who are making things beautiful for you. So it became a situation where I'm just like, if I'm going to be in a working relationship with people, I'd rather be in a situation where at times it can be a one off, but I can still reach out to these people and still feel like I am happy doing what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
Yeah.
then you're almost saying then are you telling us that you have a philosophy as a photographer then?
I never thought of it like that. But yeah, I do. I do have a philosophy as a photographer. I am aware that things like as we are trying to do better in our jobs and in our fields, that there's going to be a level of stress somewhere. And I also believe that you shouldn't take your stress out on the people who are literally trying to help you make the thing great. So my philosophy is if we're going to be working together, there has to be a good working relationship as well. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately I have worked with people or I've had people in my team that I realize like you may not be a team player in a way, or you may not understand like how I flow. So I can
Mm.
either show you or we can have a conversation, or I just may not be able to work with you again. So I've learned that those type of things. I've learned how to communicate. I've learned how to set some boundaries around what I
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
I've learned how to advocate not only for myself but for my team when I have a few people around me who are on a shoot. So, there are levels to everything that we do. We just got to learn how to talk to people and learn how to be professional in that conversation, but also like put down your boundaries and be like, well, I don't think I may be the best person to do this, or just flat out say no.
I like that. A lot of people, when they have their businesses, they don't know that at first. I know I learned that
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
Every potential client isn't for me, and I created processes where I kind of have little application
Yeah.
because, maybe you may not be for me, but I can refer you to someone else because that's
Mhm.
not my style.
Right.
It just
Right.
isn't.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the best lesson I've learned from folks is like you can fire your client. And it's okay. Like either we just don't vibe anymore, or maybe there's the communication is just not doing what it used to, or it's not a vibe, it's not a connection anymore. And again, it like you said, it's nothing that a person has done wrong. I just
Mhm.
realized that maybe we just should not work together anymore. And again, it's not a bad thing. It is a thing of growth as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So now going back to photography, there's different styles of photography. Do you do a certain kind, or are you open to all the different kinds or your style?
I feel like I stay in my wheelhouse of like portraits,
Mhm.
documentary, editorial, a little bit
Mhm.
of commercial and advertising photography. But I am definitely a people person. So I love to be able to sit down and chat with people to get a better idea of who that person or people are.
Mhm.
Um, just simply because I know that I may have like a very short amount of time with a person, and I want to be fair. I in my visual assumption of people rather than
Mhm.
rushing, because I think some people don't take the time to like really converse with someone before making a
Mhm.
photo of them, simply because I've been in situations that have been, of joy. I've also been in situations that are very traumatic.
Mhm.
And then, just being able to listen to a person's voice or a person's
Mhm.
story, which
Mhm.
leads me to know how I need to portray them for like, a particular assignment. So yeah, I mean it's the storytelling part is what I love most. And,
Mhm.
some people just want somebody to listen to them for a little bit. Especially with me being a stranger, they're like, oh, well, I can share the story again, and maybe this person can, spread it out to a different community. So I think that's one of the greater honors of like being a photographer, because there is a level of trust that people have that you'll, do right by them by the photo that you make of them.
So I think of your photography as I'm a historian by training, as a memory keeper, and you're part of keeping history alive. So
Mm.
when I see your pictures, I understand that's how I understand that. So when
Yeah.
you tell the way that you do that, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, you
Yeah.
know.
Thank
So
you.
now
Thank
now
you.
now
Thank
it
you.
makes sense the way that you go about doing your style of work.
Yeah.
Do you have any photographers that you look up to or, try to when you were first getting into it, like fashion yourself after? And then you're like, wait a minute,
Mm.
I have my own style. I don't need to
Yeah.
do that. Or.
Yeah, I have so many. We'll start with folks like Carrie Mae Weems, you have Ming Smith, these
Hmm.
history people like Gordon Parks, but also
Yes.
my
Hmm.
contemporaries like my friends, Alexis Hunley, then there's Sydney Foster, who else? Layla Matala Bahrain. Like these are people that I'm close to and talk to, if not weekly, definitely monthly. So these are people that I'm checking in with. But as far as like who I fashioned my work after, it's a plethora of people. But, after a while, I realized that, like you said, I have my own style. I have my own style of like understanding, storytelling, framing, lighting, all of those things. But the folks that I mentioned, I did, and I still do study their work. And now I'm paying much more attention to not only the work that I am commissioned to, but also the work that I want to make for myself. Because as you said, there is a line of history that I'm trying to keep alive. So I think it's
Hmm.
important to not only document what people ask me to do, but also do the things that are important to me and like my family and communities.
So can you share any of the things that you
Like,
may be working on, or is that a secret?
no, it's not a secret.
Okay.
So I have a specific project called I See Myself in You. And where this project is, it came out of me studying a lot of like photo books and art books. And what I realized is that there are a lot of books about queer people, but not
Hmm.
specifically Black and Black queer women. So I was like, okay, well, how can I make work that can add to the canon of said community? So
Hmm.
I started making like self-portraits first. And then I
Mhm.
started reaching out to friends and being like, "Hey, well, I got this idea. Would you like to be a part of it?" So
Mhm.
at this point, I think I have about 20 people that I've photographed so far. And I'm also doing video interviews with folks too, because I think what's important is not only just the still image, but one day we will lose voices, like literal voices. I want people to be able to see and hear what people sound like in their
Mhm.
own interpretation or own inflections about themselves. So to
Mhm.
me, that work has been very powerful to me. It's received, some amazing feedback and I hope to one day have like a solo exhibit of the work and to have a book that's created of that work. So it's just one of those things that's like a slow process, but I want it to be intentional with the folks who feel compelled to be part of such a series.
Well, we won't say hope. We know it's gonna come into existence, and you're gonna have a show, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to attend, and I know the audience can't wait to attend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, it kinda reminds me of how, like, Zora Neale Hurston used to go down in the South and throughout the
Mhm.
South and collect stories of our African American culture and
Yep.
record music and all of the things, and it's in the well, I don't know if it's in the Smithsonian right now, they're probably trying to destroy it, but,
Right.
the songs, the way that we would speak and
Mhm.
write, so not only in the recordings, but the actual text and the pictures are so important, and to know that you're
Mhm.
doing that is definitely needed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So yes. So, you're an entrepreneur, and how long would you say that you have been doing photography as a living, or do you also have to work another job in order to do your passion?
Yeah. That's a good question. So
Mhm,
I want to start in 2008. Well,
mhm,
2007 when I officially made this a business where I turned to an LLC, I have all my paperwork and all this stuff. This is when I was in Alabama. During that
okay,
time, I was building clientele and also building skill. So
mhm,
I also had another job. I was teaching, I don't even know which school I was teaching at the time, but
mhm,
I was teaching, you know, college level public speaking while
mhm,
building my photography company. So
mhm,
around 2014, that's when I felt comfortable kind of branching out and I decided to move to Atlanta from Birmingham. And at that time, I still had a job. I went and taught at Kennesaw State, which is the last place that I taught public speaking. So in
mhm,
2017 is when I decided to leave teaching and go into photography full time. So I haven't
mhm,
had another like secondary or backup plan since
mhm,
2017.
mhm,
But the good thing about that is that with each experience or each career that I've had, again, that
mhm,
has been tenfold in how like what I do now. So as a photographer, of course, I'm making photos, but I'm also starting to do more speaking engagements. I'm starting to teach photography
mhm,
classes. So my educator book bag is always still on. I'm just
mhm,
not in a college setting anymore. But all in
mhm.
all, like I've been full time since 2017. So next year we'll make 10 years full time.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But 20 as a photographer, and that blows my mind. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Were you scared, to go out on your own, and how do you manage the ups and downs of probably the income flow? Like, is it that you
Mm.
have different streams, so you're just like, I know how to budget or,
Mhm.
live. It's like,
Mhm.
I know maybe when I'm up, but I don't go crazy, so I won't be, tripping when it's low,
Right.
so
No, these are very important questions to ask.
mhm, mhm,
There are ebbs and flows. Like you said, when you're up, you're up, and when you're down, you gotta be
mhm,
like, I need to be sticking
mhm,
to this very strict budget that I put in front of me. And
mhm.
especially things were really high 2020, and I believe that
Yes.
was like for all Black people. We had a little bit
Yes.
more money in our pockets, and then around
Mhm.
23, 24, that's when things start to um, trickle down in a way that was, less than attractive.
You said it nicely.
Yeah, I'm trying to
It
be
came
nice
down
here.
crashing. It
It
came
did.
down
It
crashing out
did.
here.
It did. As somebody else put it, they were like, "Nature is healing." I'm like, basically, things went back to the way they were. And if not the way they were, just maybe a little bit less than what they were.
Mhm.
But,
Mhm.
in the midst of all of that, it's the opportunities that I've been grateful for. Like in
Mhm.
21 or 22, I had the opportunity to photograph the stills for, the movie Till, for the Emmett Till movie. That
Yes.
came out of
I remember
nowhere,
that.
and I was like,
What do
I'm
you mean
very
out of
grateful for
nowhere?
it.
People been watching you, that's why.
And that was the wildest thing. Is like the people who are watching was like, hold up, like this is a lot. I wouldn't say it was overwhelming, but I'm also not
Mhm.
gonna say I didn't ask for it. I just think
Right.
the way that it was received kind of put like
Mhm.
a little scar across it. But
Mhm.
other than that, it's like I'm relishing in the opportunities rather than the financial part of it. Yes, the financial part is
Yes.
important, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I haven't done great things, and I'm learning to
Right.
be grateful and amazed by what I've
Mhm.
done. I don't think that I take the time to celebrate, what I've accomplished in this short window of time.
Mhm.
That short window being 2020 to now.
Yes.
But yeah, it's and also I'm in another transition as far as my career goes, where I'm focusing more on the art of photography rather than
Mhm.
just doing it. So
Okay.
this last year and a half, I've been submitting my work to more art galleries and shows
Mhm.
and exhibits. So it just lets me know that I have the work. I just need to be able to show more of it. So I'm taking the time to show the work rather than just constantly making the work.
I like that. So,
Yeah.
was that a hard transition, or how did you even get into that? Was that your network and your relationships that allowed you did you say, "Oh, I never thought about this," or a friend said, "Hey, you should," and then you're like, "Why not?"
It was a mix. It was a mix.
Okay.
I have a friend that lives in Montgomery, and
Mhm.
she was doing a lot of shows, a lot of exhibits, and I'm like, "Well, how are you getting into these things, and what are you doing?" Of
Mhm.
course, it came from her networking, but also just applying to
Mm.
different exhibits. And so I was like, well, I can try that too. And so with the series that I was telling you about, the I See Myself in You, that's the
Mhm.
work that I was submitting most of the time. I have another body of work that I'm working on as well, but
Mhm.
that was the one that I felt like needed some different eyes on it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, applying to those, and there's these things called artist residencies where you get to
Yes.
basically go off to, maybe another state, another city, and have your quiet
Mhm.
time to create your work and things of that nature. So it's been a huge learning curve because there's more writing connected to
Mhm.
these processes now. But
Mhm.
all in all, I think when you step outside of what you already know, it
Right.
makes you more appreciative of what you do know,
Mhm.
because you have to be able to not only, make a photograph, but you need to be able to talk about it as well. It's again, I'm stressing how everything goes back to like me having this communication degree and being able
Yes.
to develop that communication side to even
Mhm.
know what I want my next phase of like my career to look like and how I
Mhm.
want to verbalize what my work is like.
I mean, you just advocated for communication degree and how it is really vers
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that that degree could have taken me everywhere, but I honestly did not know it was gonna take me into being a photographer at all, because this was not a career goal. I was like, "Oh, this kinda just fell in my lap," and then it just felt right. I'm like, "Well, I'm keep going with this."
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everything happens for a reason and, you found
Absolutely.
your calling. So, I know that we talked about your life. Let's see. Let's have we talked about life, identity, and showing up? Have I left out anything?
I don't think we talked about life and identity and how to show up, but yeah, we can
Okay,
get
let's
into
talk
it.
about it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so, like, what part of, like, life? Like, what would you like to know?
What has photography taught you about your life? Yeah,
Hmm.
what has it taught about you? Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that question. It's definitely taught me how I interact with people. And it also has taught me about the variety of people that are out in the world. People are very colorful, and especially, in certain situations.
Oh, that could be a hot mess.
They can. They can, but it could be like this hot message. You're just like, you know, I may not think like that, but it's good to have that thought on my mind.
Right.
Because,
Right.
I mean, think about it, like, if you think about your expanded, like, family, like, just think about outside of your immediate and just think about all, like, your cousins and all those type of people. You realize that you are raised around a myriad of type of people, but
Mhm.
that's one thing because you know them like their blood family, but when you get out into the world, that is completely different, like, the way that people think and process, the way that they show up in the world, it is very amazing to me, and I think, like, my anthropologist side is
Mhm.
always fascinated with the way people say things, like, even from accents,
Yes.
clothing, from style, I'm just like and then think about it, all Black people are not the same. So even
That
from that
part.
perspective, right, you see all of these, like, different and beautiful and, like, questionable Black people but questionable in like a like, huh, I didn't even know this type of blackness existed. And it's not a bad thing. It's
Right.
just like, wow, I get to be
Right.
the person that
Mhm.
meets these people and document them and I get back to share, I get to go back and share their stories with my friends and my family and like I don't
Mhm.
know, that's the part that makes me so excited because
Mm.
with each assignment I don't know who I'm about to meet and they also
I
don't
like
know who
that.
they're about to meet. Um,
Right.
and we, by the end, when we get there, we're trying to figure each other out. But by the
Mhm.
end, we're laughing and joking, passing numbers to each other, hugging,
Mhm.
all this type of thing. So I think just their interactions, the presence, the feel good of it all when I get to meet different people. Yeah, that's what I love most about being a photographer and life. It has definitely taught me a lot about life, especially, how can I put it? I think what upsets me most sometimes is when I see white photographers who are documenting Black people, but not in
Oh,
a way that is of dignity to Black
right.
people. So and I know it's gonna keep happening in life, yet
Mhm.
when we as Black folks see each other and we get to
Mhm.
do the thing that Black people do, I think that
Mhm.
shows up in the photos that I get to make.
So it's almost like you're saying that we get to be,
Mhm.
meaning
Yeah,
just
yes.
be, and no one's projecting or capturing what they think we are.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't know. I have thought about this, but I guess I didn't think about this until you were speaking about this, but I kinda did
Mhm.
when I was just thinking about, how the movies or even I was working on a video game, and it was a historical based video game
Mm.
about
Mhm.
a runaway enslaved young girl, and I told
Mhm.
the person, Black people didn't speak like that, and he was like,
Right.
"Well, until we get complaints, then we won't change it." I was like, "I just told
Uh,
you, not Black." But okay,
right.
and I'm a historian, but all right, whatever.
Until I get
Anyway,
complaints.
yeah, and
Interesting.
I was like, "Where's the complaint box?" Do most people know that? But I was like, "You know what?"
Well, it sounds like we've had similar experiences because I had someone to reach out about, being an ambassador for a product, but they sent me the things that I needed to share, and it was all
Mhm,
white people. And I said, "Well," I'm sure you've seen my work, and it's, mostly Black people and a few people of color." I said,
mhm,
"Well, when you all have, like, assets with
mhm,
people of color, then sure, I'll advertise it." But I'm just like, I can't advertise to a demographic of people that I mean, I interact with others, but I'm
right,
mostly photographing Black people. So it wouldn't be
right,
right to be advertising a product with another race. So it's like
right,
and now I think that goes back to the advocating part that I mentioned earlier. Like there's no point in taking money from people who are not
mhm,
respecting the community of people that I actually photograph like on a daily basis.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now now going on to the next question, what has photography taught you about your identity?
As far as my Blackness, my queerness, and my womanness, we still need a whole lot of like respect for who we are, how we show up, and what we do. Um, you know, I remember in another interview, someone asked me, did I ever notice if someone, what's the word? Oh, discriminated against me for my queerness? And I said they probably have, but I noticed my Blackness first before my queerness because I know I'm gonna I show up as a Black person daily, you know?
Mhm.
And so as far as photography goes, I feel like we see a lot of Black queer photographers, a lot more
Mhm.
than we've seen in throughout like the history of photography. And what I
Mhm.
love most now is like being able to go into the archives of other Black and queer photographers and
Mhm.
getting to see the things that we rarely see. So with photography, pictures are very important to everything that we do because we look at things all of the time. And if we
Mhm.
don't have anything that is documented about a specific group of people, then to me, that is a sense of like erasing the existence of, an entire community. Because think about it. Think about how, what was it, like the late 80s and 90s, that whole generation of queer people died from AIDS or
Yes.
HIV. So that
Mhm.
is a whole block of time that is just missing.
Yeah.
So a lot of those photos are important now, but think about if you start to like separate them or silo different communities, Black
Mhm.
people and Black photographers, either their archives are they may be missing, they may be incomplete, or we just don't know about them. So I love the fact that we are in this era of
Mhm.
photography because we get to see things so, instantly, but we also get to celebrate the things that we are, uncovering. So yeah, that's what it has taught me about my identity, just more so of being adamant about archiving
Mhm.
and archiving any and everything. Like when I have
Yes.
a really good friend of mine who is also she's a queer woman in DC who teaches at one of the schools up there, but she's also an archivist. And
Mhm.
she's been telling me, literally keep almost everything that you feel is of value, like your journals, like your notes,
Absolutely.
like even
Yes.
the notebooks where you're writing down your mileage so people will know where you
Yep.
went to travel for different shoots.
Yes.
So I've been very adamant about that. And yeah, because I do feel like what I'm making is going to be important, if not now, but to the years to come. Yeah.
I'm just I mean, it is so important, and I've been thinking about this probably since my time at Spelman when I was in my
Mhm.
20s.
Mhm.
I was trying to imitate, W.E.B. Du Bois. He used to I guess he always knew he was gonna be important, so he saved every
Mhm.
single thing he could,
Mhm.
and I used to try to save every single thing I could, and I don't think that we as a community or just different communities within the Black community understand how important it is to archive and save things so that our future generations
Yeah.
understand and can go see.
Mhm.
I know this is just a random. I saw Sheila E. on Threads selling all of her stuff, and I didn't know what to do. I'm originally from Oakland, so
Mm.
I called up the Oakland library and I was like, I don't know who to talk to, but Sheila E. is originally from Oakland. Maybe you all have some money where you can buy some of her stuff that could be part of your
Yeah.
collection.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That I think that brings up a bigger conversation around conservatory. Like who's going to be that person that looks over your archive? And
Yes.
I'm blessed to have folks like you and my friends who have
Mhm.
been like, "Yo, keep your stuff." I'm like, "Okay, where am I gonna put it?" But sure, let's keep all the things.
I know where you could put it. I
Where
know
can
where
I
you
put
could
it?
put it. You live in Atlanta. I think you should go to the Atlanta University or AUC Woodruff Library.
Mhm.
They have an archive. I will put you in touch with someone. I mean, you have done so much for the AUC and the Atlanta community. They probably would love to have your stuff. I'm going to, after we get off here, I'm going to get you
Okay.
in touch with
That's
them.
good to know. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's
Because you are a treasure.
look, don't do that, cause
Yeah, you
I'm already in a
are.
very emotional state, and you're gonna
You
make me cry.
are. You are. You are. I'm just so proud of you. And just like I said, I mean, what you're doing, old folks say is God's work.
Mm,
People don't understand how important it is to document and preserve our history.
yeah,
And if you don't do it, who else will?
you're right. You're right. You're
I
right.
had a former professor who's a history teacher. She was like, Amor, please come talk. There's not enough young folks that are going into history or preserving our history.
Mhm, mhm. Wow, I never thought of it like that. I mean, it's I guess because admittedly, I am in a silo of, like, creatives, and that's all we do. So to come outside of my little bubble and know, like, that's very troubling because we have so much stuff, like so much history that is just popping up out of nowhere that is valuable to how we understand how we've been living or how we will live.
Mhm.
If anything, yeah, I would encourage for the listeners and even both of us, like to be
Mhm.
adamant about keeping track of photos, not just the ones that's on your phone or the digital
Right.
photos, but the one I'm looking at a box right now. I have a box of like all of my baby pictures that need to be scanned.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we like that's the other project that I'm working on. It's like with my family, scanning those things so we can have them at least in some digital space because you just never
Mhm.
know what can happen. God
Right.
forbid a fire, tornado, whatever, but at least it's somewhere for us to still have. So,
Right.
not even thinking in modes of like tragedy, but just keepsakes. So
Right.
yeah, I would encourage everyone to find a place where you can offload all of those photos and off of any devices, old hard drives, old CDs, because I got CDs and DVDs with
Yes.
pictures on them. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, all of those
Yes.
things matter. They're artifacts at this point, but they matter.
Yes. So it's not just the we need both, the digital and the hard copies, and I see
Mhm.
both.
Mhm.
So the last question is, what has photography taught you about showing up for yourself or just showing up, period?
Photography has shown me that I I should just simply show up. And I don't know. When people ask me like, "How can I become a photographer?" I'm like, in my mind, you already are. You got a phone, and if you're just documenting all the little bits and pieces of your life, you are doing something very special. Memories are they're valuable. It's some like what I use Google Photos to store most of my stuff. And so when a memory
Mhm.
pops up, I'm like, that was a good time. And and all of like it's funny because people think that I'm always, taking pictures with a camera, like
Mhm.
a camera, but I'm just like, no,
Mhm.
most of the time, if I'm just in the vibe of things, I'm gonna
Mhm.
use my phone. And so even
Mm.
those little snapshots, those memories are just as valuable as the ones that I'm making with professional cameras. It's just something special about, I don't know, being able to be in the moment, being present. And so if anything, photography, as far as showing up, has just taught me to show up and to relish in the present and just live in it as much as I possibly can.
I love that. As we wrap up, how can people follow you or get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my website is my name, lynseyweatherspoon.com. I'm very active on Instagram. So that's all in Weatherspoon for Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the places that I hang out in. And then I also have a podcast called Trust Your Process. So you can find that on Spotify. What else? Apple
Is it on YouTube?
Podcasts, and it's on YouTube as well. Yeah. So the video version is on YouTube and Spotify. But if you look up Trust Your Process and my name, then you'll find our first season. And we'll actually be wrapping that up at the end of March. So it's been exciting. So, and then if you just Google my name, you can find me wherever you go find me.
Everywhere. And then to close out, I would like for you to leave our listeners with one piece of advice, whatever you
Mm.
want.
It might be cliche, but I'm going to give the advice of the title of my podcast, which is trust your process. And I truly mean that because you can have, you know, all of the brilliant people around you, but if you don't trust yourself, then it's not much that you can do. So, take what you need as far as advice from other people, but also trust your gut on what you want to do.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you on next episode.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining our episode. If you need any career or college coaching, make sure to sign up for a phone call so that we can help your families.